Welcome back to A View from Legal Street. Help us help you get paid. Our short series of practical, real-world tricks and tips to help healthcare providers streamline the business processes, bolster their revenue cycle, and maximize reimbursements from commercial insurance companies. I'm Zach Rothenberg, your host and co-chair of the litigation practice at Nelson Hardiman in Los Angeles. We are a 20-lawyer boutique firm focused exclusively on the representation of healthcare providers and life sciences entrepreneurs. Today, I am here with TJ Ferris of the Revenue Solution. I'll let TJ explain exactly what the Revenue Solution does, but suffice it to say that they offer a unique new service that, in my experience from speaking with healthcare providers, particularly in behavioral health, is filling a real hole in the revenue cycle that is often overlooked. TJ, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
You bet. Before we get into the Revenue Solution, give us a little bit of background on yourself, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working in the behavioral health space since about 2007, so a little over 15 years now. I come from a sales and marketing background, but I've worked throughout many different disciplines within the field. I've worked on the clinical side of things, and then primarily on the business side of things as well. So I have experience both hands-on with clients and then also on the business side of things.
Excellent. And we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the Revenue Solution in just a second, but I wanted to preface it with this question. What was the problem that you saw, or what was the hole that you were looking to fix with the Revenue Solution?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of backdoored into what we do at the Revenue Solution. I was working for a large treatment center in South Florida. I was helping with call center performance, and I almost kind of stumbled into a room where they were attempting to collect patient responsibility, deductibles, coinsurance, copays, that type of stuff. Yep. And it just seemed like a very broken process to me. It was done pretty haphazardly. And to be honest, they were one of the very few, they were a primary addiction treatment center, and one of the very few that were even pursuing patient responsibility at that time. And, even to this day, it's still few and far between. As insurance reimbursements have really started to come down, along with the time that's being authorized, you're seeing a big constraint on reimbursements. Not to mention that the fact that they're waiving, lying to clients, whatever they were doing, misleading them, obfuscating them, it's all uncompliant and illegal. They're essentially enticing clients into treatment with the offer of a cash reward or equivalent. By telling them that, hey, we won't come after you for your $10,000 deductible, that's a cash equivalent. And unless the provider is going to turn around and offer that same discount to the insurance company, which nobody was doing, then they have violated the law and they open themselves up to liabilities. Insurance companies, if there's one thing that they're phenomenal at, it's figuring a way to squeeze out providers and not pay them. And that's what they've really started doing now, putting providers on prepayment audits until they can demonstrate that they're actively pursuing the collections on the patient responsibility. It's just another mechanism of choking out reimbursement. So that's where our company comes in. Not only do we keep you compliant so that you can go about your already successful business model, we bring you in a lot of revenue that most providers thought was uncollectible. They thought, if we go after this stuff, either our patients don't have it or we're going to drive them away from treatment.
So tell us how you make that happen at the Revenue Solution.
Absolutely. So we work with the providers, and we really try to treat each one of our treatment centers that we contract with as if it was our own center. So we assess their, how full their census typically runs, their current admission practices, how they approach the discussion and the attempts and the collection of patient responsibility, and then we, depending upon the type of center, whether they're constantly running at a full census and kind of picking and choosing which new admits to come in, which really, as we know, is the exception to the rule. Most providers out there, their main focus is filling beds. They're usually not at a predicament where it's, hey, we could take this patient or that patient. So we come up with a plan as to how to tackle the patient responsibility according to, what their goals are in filling their census. And then we'll approach things accordingly. So if a treatment center is, having a struggle to maintain a full or even an 80% census, it doesn't really make too much sense to beat their patients up, so to speak, on the front end about patient responsibility. Yep. Rather that what they should do is, of course, don't lie, don't mislead your clients, go over the patient responsibility with them, but let them know that, hey, look, it's something that we can work with you on.
Right. So I really enjoy your website, the revenuesolution.com. There's a great, for all the viewers out there, there's a great animated video that really walks through how the service works. But there's also a catchphrase on your website that I really liked and caught my attention. It was something about becoming more profitable and compliant. Now, those are concepts that I don't think everyone really sees as fitting together. And in fact, I think a lot of folks probably think that they're kind of butting heads, right? That being more and more compliant probably cuts into your profitability is how most people would think of that intuitively. How do you see those two things working together?
From the niche that we're in with patient responsibility, it's certainly, maintaining compliance goes hand in hand with the profitability, because what the majority of providers still do, if they even address patient responsibility at all, is, they might take a feigned attempt on the front end prior to somebody coming in. Well, you have a $2,000 deductible and an additional $5,000 of coinsurance after that. Do you think you may be able to afford something towards that? They say, okay, I could probably pay about $100, something along those lines. And that's usually about it. Treatment centers seem to think that sending out 3 billing statements after a patient has completed treatment, showing what their patient responsibility is somehow maintaining compliance.
Right. The silver bullet. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've helped our clients through Cigna audits and audits with Optum where that just doesn't hold water. Right. They want to see legitimate attempts to collect the funds. And, reality of it is, unless you have a very, very small center, if you're making legitimate attempts, not everyone can pay, but some people will. So you actually need to produce cash collections.
Amazing. So what's the rub? How do you get paid?
We're strictly contingency based. So we have no setup fees, no startup fees, no onboarding fees, nothing except for a percentage of the funds that we collect. Our bread and butter is helping with patient responsibility. Most every treatment center throughout the country needs help with that. And then we also assist some centers with private pay extensions. And then we help a lot of centers tracking down pay to patient or pay to member reimbursements where the insurance company decides that they're going to send the patient $100,000 when they're getting home from treatment rather than sending it to the provider, simply to discourage the provider from accepting those out-of-network benefits.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, listen, I think we're about out of time. TJ, it was great talking to you, and good luck to you in the revenue solution, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Zach. Same to you.
All right. You take care.